Hello and welcome to My Mom's Basement, presented by 3Chi and Barstool Sports. I am your host, Robbie Fox. I am back with Clem, and we are here to talk about the penultimate episode of What If Season 1. And I got to tell you, Clem, we haven't talked at all about this episode yet, what each other thought of it, like each other's thoughts. I loved it. This was one of my favorite What If episodes yet. I don't know how you felt about it. I mean, I know, you know, they did something again that, Kenny from South Park. They made him a joke. Yeah, but
Bob, let's just forget the recap this episode. Let's just get into the what ifs. First what if comes from Clem. What if stop killing Tony Stark? Stop it! Stop it! It's not fair. I mean, like, it's getting comical at this point.
It was comical. I was laughing my ass off when I saw him in this episode. I'm sorry, but he was like the only Avenger they made a point to be like, hey, we're killing this one. Like, everyone's dead. We get it. The whole Earth, the whole universe, multiple planets, all,
Other
I almost said Alderaan instead of Asgard.
Dying.
Alderaan's dead too. Tell you what, in any universe, they're gone as well. But yeah, Tony Stark, he was the only one to be shown to like bite the bullet, I guess. I mean, your guy, the T-Man, too. Holy fuck. What was that? That was one of the most shocking scenes in the history of the MCU.
Thanos got hit with exactly what went on. It's split in half, right? That's kind of perfectly balanced as all things should be. He was right down the middle.
Together.
Yeah.
I didn't even put that together. That's brilliant.
And this is the thing. So I'm like grieving over Tony at this point. I'm still hurting. And then the T-Man comes like, all right, that's my guy here. You know, the enemy of Tony's enemy is his friend. So I finally have it aligned to T-Man. Split in half, like Vision, Ultron, whatever the fuck he is, doesn't even think of it. Boom. However,
crazy. He had so many stones too.
So many stones.
So many
stones. And the thing is, though, I was like, you know what? Like Ultron, Vision, whatever you want to, it's Ultron technically, but the body of Vision, I'm like, that dude deserved revenge on Thanos because he killed his ass. He got his ass killed twice in Infinity War. So I thought he kind of earned that revenge on Thanos. Plus, he kind of died again in Fake Land in WandaVision. So Vision deserves to get a body count now. He had to sit on the sidelines way too long after the Infinity War happened. So it was a tough one for me, man. It was a tough one. I talked about this with Jerry. We have Jerry coming on for a special what if at the end of the episode, and I said, we should I spoil it? I'll just
you could spoil it. Yeah, you could.
So we did. This was kind of, since obviously there's a huge Patriots game on Sunday. Brady and Belichick meeting in New England, first time since he left. I had a what if. What if the Patriots had signed Tom Brady to a contract till he was 45 like he wanted? And, Jerry kind of gives us some different scenarios that happened from the last couple of years, blah, blah, blah. And we basically come to the agreement that the Jets are just bad no matter what. They're in this exact 0-3 hole in 2021. Everyone's worried about their future. And the Jets are basically a nexus being where no matter what fucking universe they're in misery. I think Tony Stark is just a nexus being for being dead at some point. That's kind of what I'm learning from this what if.
Well, I saw someone point out the fact, and it might have been one of our listeners on Twitter, that in every universe that Tony Stark is killed, like chaos happens, the world is destroyed, things are erupted, and it's almost maybe meant to show how important Tony Stark is to saving the universe when it's all said and done. Maybe you could spin zone it like that.
I guess like if they could just stop killing him and just say he died or something. Like you said though, they don't run through all the Avengers and they all die. It's just Tony dies.
I think you can maybe see him in the background, but they gave Tony lines again where he's like, don't kill me, please, and then he's killed or whatever.
Little Morgan Stark is watching this at home too. She doesn't need to see this kind of stuff.
She don't need to see it. No, keep it away from her. Let's get into the episode, though, because there's a lot to talk about in this one. It actually plays off the cliffhanger from the last episode. So this is kind of the first what if to actually continue the story, which I loved, and it is clear that the finale is going to also play off this as well. So there's almost a two-part finale, I felt like, and I dig that about it.
This was, and so I kind of went on a tangent, admittedly, but this was a really good, fun, action-packed episode. It kind of checked all the boxes, and this was bigger than anything I expected from What If, at least in season 1. But now it's also, like you said, we're rolling in. Completely changes my mind of what this series is, what it's about, and kind of what it could be going forward. So a lot of being oh shit, this is bigger than I thought. And I mean, we'll get into the events. I'll just leave it at that.
We'll get into the event. I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but you tweeted this week, and you really made me laugh when you were like, if the big baby gets involved in any of this shit, I am retiring from Marvel What If. With one caveat, you said, unless the big baby also got involved in the comics. And someone hit you up immediately, and they were like, the big baby gets involved in the comics. And you were like, all right, big baby. Free reign.
Like the Watcher, like there's quotes around Watcher. Like he's a Watcher, but he'll get his hands dirty if he has to. So I'm just trying to make sure we're not completely butchering the franchise here. I didn't read every What If comic when I was young. I read a fair amount. So it's nice to know the big baby will roll up his sleeves if like his entire universe and existence and the existence of, I mean, the universe, the multiverse, like
maybe our universe.
You ever think about how big the universe is and you get that like head rush and you're like, whoa.
Oh, yeah. Reachy. Yeah.
Exactly. I just got that now on live on a podcast, so I'm fucking floating in space. But the big baby's trying to make sure that whatever the supreme size of this universe and all the universes in the world are, don't get eaten up by Ultron. I can get down with that. So
I'll tell you what, the big baby can throw hands.
Big baby has some
what a fighter! Moves. He even hit a headbutt with that bald ass head.
That was like soccer hooligan shit. You see that in like a basement of a bar. Like that's the kind of people I think like Zot and Troops are around when they're not on camera on like Saturdays.
Shout out Troops, by the way. He got engaged today. Our guy.
Oh, nice. Shout out Troops.
Yeah. Congratulations, Troops.
She has to be an Arsenal. She better be an Arsenal fan, or at least like soccer neutral. I don't think there's any way where that relationship could work.
I mean, their children are being raised Arsenal fans, so she's at the very least very cool with the Gunners.
Oh, and also let's shout this one out. LaShawn McCoy retired. R.I.P. My dog was Shady McCoy's career. You fucking dickhead! I'm so happy you can't make a paycheck anymore. Scumbag, enemy of the basement.
Scumbag. The fact that he didn't at least realize, like, remember when Za kind of spoiled it because of LaShawn McCoy, and then realized immediately the weight of his actions. And he was like so apologetic. He came to me to apologize, and he didn't even spoil it for me. He was just apologizing to like all Marvel fans, just to me. And I was like, Zah, it's okay. Like, you didn't understand. LaShawn McCoy was like, oh, I don't care. What do you mean, bro? You spoiled it for a lot of people. He spoiled it for Dave. Dave Portnoy, actually.
Spoiled it for Dave. When I tweeted at him, and I was going to his Twitter just before after I saw the news, and I saw that I blocked him. I forgot that I blocked him after he did that. It was like my standing up against a real dickhead. So, and then Dave, I think Gaz said something.
Yeah,
and then
Gaz said it. Gaz saw it on the plane and laughed and was like, "Oh, can you believe LaShawn McCoy just tweeted R.I.P. my dog Tony Stark?" And Dave was like, "The fuck, dude? I want to see that movie."
Yep, and I never realized.
Sneaky nerd. Dave likes the Marvel stuff. Dave likes the he's not super into all the Marvel stuff. Dave's super into the Mandalorian, super into Star Wars. He likes the sequel trilogy, all that stuff.
The Basement Boys will be one of the last podcasts to ever get axed at Barstool. I feel like part of my take is like a lifetime contract, a few others, and
Dave listens every week. He says he listens to every second of the podcast. He loves it. He can't get enough.
Twice over. He does one on the way.
We asked him to come on, but he said he would rather just be a listener.
Yeah, exactly. So we appreciate that, Dave. We appreciate that very much. LaShawn McCoy, we appreciate absolutely nothing about you. The fact he missed, I never realized that too. They say he misspelled Tony Stark, not because he doesn't know how to spell the most like common name in the world in like the country, but
threw an E in there.
So then it wouldn't be the muted word wouldn't get picked up by the Twitter censors and
brutal
who have muted. So absolute scumbag, rebuked. He's been rebuked in the base.
Rebuked. So let's get into the episode. The universe is in the final days of destruction, as the Watcher tells us. Natasha is making her way through like a snowy terrain, and we see Clint is helping her out, and she's being chased by a bunch of Ultron minions, these robots, and Clint, with the fucking arrows, he throws one bushel of arrows and hits like everyone in the head. Kind of a nice tease for Hawkeye. We got it coming up. So It's like, all right, we're introducing him back into the fold. Probably on purpose, but it's probably on Marvel's whiteboard, like reintroduce Hawkeye maybe. And we find out we are in Russia. He's like, where are we anyway? And she's like, we're in the homeland. You see in the background, it looks like where Hezbollah takes his Instagram pictures. So we're like, all right, we're back here. Eventually, she gets the Red Guardian shield too, which is a very nice callback to Black Widow. Now that like we know all that,
I love how I feel like Hawkeye and Black Widow are being pushed. It's like when you go to the restaurant and they're like, push the steak. We need to get rid of the steak. They're like, push Hawkeye. We need to get everyone excited about Hawkeye again. And I have to say, like the way the arrows are all shot, that would make no lick of sense in real life. It didn't even make sense in a cartoon. I'm like, okay, like he's Hawkeye. He's really good at it. It made no fucking sense.
It was like he took like a bouquet of flowers and put it in a bow. It's like it's like a big shotgun blast or something. But we find out that in this universe, Ultron got his wish. He imported his AI into the Vision body. So it's so confusing if you're not like into Marvel and you don't know Age of Ultron, especially, which is a movie that a lot of people don't know. But this isn't Vision. You know, it's not the guy that we know and love. This is Ultron in the Vision body that was initially created for Ultron.
Yep. And again, this was we didn't know if we were going to get like a Bettany voice, if we were going to get a Spader voice, and it clearly was not. Was it Spader?
It was not Spader, but it was actually the guy who did the voice of Red Skull in Infinity War and Endgame. So that guy, he didn't do the original Red Skull voice. I forget who played that that character originally, the actor, but he had like a bad experience with the MCU. He was one of the few, and he's like, I don't want anything to do with this. He kind of trashed the MCU, trashed Kevin Feige or something. So they're like, fuck him. We're not bringing him back. Let's get a different guy to do the voice. And he's like this great voice actor. And that guy actually did the voice of Ultron here. So it's a cool connection.
I don't got that guy. And like, if there's people, so that's one thing that I always think about. Like, you never know with life and how jobs can go or whatever. And I'm like, you know, if anything ever happens, I'm just happy. Like, I'm on Dave's good side. Like, I think Dave likes me. You know what I mean? I think you're in that boat as well. And there's obviously, I think Dave has people he likes, people he doesn't like, either how they work, if it's Barstool first or not. And it's kind of like, I feel like it's the same with like Kevin Feige or the MCU. It's like, have those guys on your side, because if you ever need help, you need a favor, you want to have like people that are moving, that are centers of their universe, have your back. So shout out to the Red Skull guy. Spader too. I hated Robert California. I know some people have like this.
I'm not the biggest fan.
The love of The Office. Basically, that is when it all went downhill. Spader. What was this? Saber. I didn't like the whole Saber thing, and I didn't like any of it. Basically,
me neither. So, when I do my rewatches, I know people say no, the Robert California stuff is underrated. Like if it's on Comedy Central or something, maybe I'll catch it. If I'm rewatching The Office on a streaming service, once I get to Michael leaving, I'll restart.
Yep, that's personally my way to go too. To each their own. I know everyone gets
like headcanon. It's like Office headcanon.
Yes, exactly.
And in this universe, this gets dark as hell, and maybe that's the key to these what ifs, because it seems like all the ones that get dark I love, but fucking Ultron nukes the whole world. Like, he finds the nuclear codes, he lights off all the nukes. The way they animated it looked awesome. This was overall one of my favorite episodes in animation, because even when he gets all of the stones from Thanos, like we said, you know, Thanos shows up, he slices him in half, equal as all things should be, like you pointed out to me. My 3Chi brain didn't even get it. He gets all the stones. The way he builds the suit, and like the dust falls off the stones and they go into his suit. It's one of the coolest sequences I thought in the entire What If series. Yeah,
I love how he just, and it's like Stark technology, right? Where he has the glove and the stones in, and he kind of does that with the body. That was great.
It's a badass suit too, with that like double eyes he had. It was cool.
And he fucking just crushed the gauntlet. So it's like, I lost my sweet little T-Man, my big purple love, and then I fucking lost a gauntlet, which is like the symbol of the T-Man. But I mean, this kind of goes to show you, like, Thanos, this episode kind of shows Thanos isn't such a bad guy after all.
No, come on, no.
Bob, just hear me out here.
Oh, were you?
Universe for resources.
Oh, were you saying maybe Thanos showed up to stop Ultron?
I mean,
well, I guess he did, because he wanted the Mind Stone.
Yes, exactly. That's what he had. He had everything else in hand, needed the Mind Stone. And again, I love that Vision kind of got his revenge, even if it's in a completely different character.
In this universe, I mean, is Thanos the hero?
If you are, instead of the Watcher, if you are the Doer, Bob the Doer, you are the Doer. We'll shave your head, you'll be the big baby.
Yep.
And you can have one of those two win. Who do you have win?
Thanos or Ultron in that scenario?
Yes. I want you to say it. Do you want a
Thanos,
guy who can...
Thanos, because, I mean, Ultron, we see he goes to Asgard, he goes to the Sovereign, Sakaar, Ego, which, I mean, destroying Ego is probably a good thing, but all the other places he destroys entirely, Thanos probably would have just wiped out half, right?
That's exactly. Thanos, no more, no less, and it's all just it's chance. It's flip of a coin. It's not genocide. I think we can say we've already been over this. Happy Thanos told nice.
Oh,
guy
and by
Thanos
the
told
way, I
us
forgot to even mention, you also see your guys, the Guardians of the Galaxy, die in this too. What the fuck?
It was a tough. I mean, I think it's Thanos, it's the Guardians, and it's Iron Man. Those are my three franchises there, just completely wiped off. And then he kills Ego, which Guardians is like my favorite non-Avengers movie. So I basically lose Guardians 2 as being a movie. So it was absolutely brutal. But yeah,
this must have been written by someone that's on my side of the Captain America argument. That's a basement boy or girl, and they're like, you know what? Let's give it to Clem this season.
There was only a few people that I voted no to in Barstool Idol as I was a judge one day, and it's one of those people was the writer of this episode. I'm going to get Clem where it really hurts and just watch all his favorite characters die. However, once again, Bob said Thanos, different levels of gray, I guess we'll say. Thanos, lighter shade of gray than Ultron in this scenario. They're both trying to make peace. Thanos is trying to do it, just half the universe, not all of it.
And we've seen in the other multiverse that Thanos can be swayed. You know, if T'Challa were Star-Lord, he could have swayed Thanos easily. So, I mean,
that's true.
I would say he's not as bad as Ultron. I think you're right.
Did you geek out at all the different movie things? So we saw like Ragnarok, right? It was kind of like Korg out there. Obviously, the Guardians. And yeah, even Asgard. He has the he gets the cape. Where I saw someone that mentioned that he loved Thor's cape, so he has the cape. Yeah, that's the thing. Like Ultron, very bad guy, very nice fit though, very nice.
Yeah, nice fit, and like Ultron was cooler in this episode, I thought, than he ever was in Age of Ultron. And they say that line at one point. They're like, the Age of Ultron is just beginning. It's like, oh yeah, you said the movie. That's like I just saw Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's a scene where somebody goes, "Let there be carnage," and it was just like, gotcha.
Yeah, and no one should be expecting a Venom recap on My Mom's Basement because based on what I'm hearing about it, might not be worth.
Yeah, I told Clem it's not worth going to see. I said, find the post-credit scene when you can. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. If you love the Venom movie, the first Venom movie, maybe you'll like this one. I thought the first Venom movie was okay, watchable, I would say. I didn't love it. The second Venom movie, I really wasn't a fan of, so we're not going to do a recap of that one. I don't want to trash it. Captain Marvel finally interferes with Ultron when he gets to Xandar. It's like, finally? Well, I mean, what took you so long, Captain Marvel? I feel like always this girl's late. She makes a funny Terminator joke where she's like, I already saw the Terminator movie Skynet. It doesn't need a sequel. And it's like, oh, because she left Earth before the sequel came out or something.
I didn't get that.
Yeah.
I like that.
But then Ultron kills her and destroys the planet. He just from the inside, like she's frying him up, and then she's like, you're not gonna win. He's like, I already have. Fucking blows up the whole planet. That was kind of Alderaan style, the way it blew up. And then he senses the Watcher, and immediately the Watcher is terrified. Like as he's narrating, it's kind of the same thing as what happened in the Doctor Strange episode. He's like, whoa, who was that? What was that? Watcher's like, uh-oh, that's not good for me. I don't think this guy should be sensing me. We go back. Yeah,
baby's starting to shit himself right now. There's a little bit of pee-pee coming out of his baby dick right there. He's not liking it.
He needs to be changed.
Yeah, exactly. He needs to be changed. And I just thought when you said Alderaan, I thought about the goddamn asshole Mandalorian. It's like, did you lose anyone?
Someone brought that up to me recently. Who was it in the office? I forget who it was, but they just walked up to me and they're like, you remember when the guy was like, did you lose anyone in Alderaan?
That was the worst. Amazing. And listen, I love Captain Marvel. I was gonna be like, oh, women. They always say they're gonna be out earlier than they are. Like Captain Marvel always strolls up by like the third act of a fucking movie. However, I don't think getting exploded in the middle of a planet is a fair punishment. But bite your tongue, woman, about T2. She has no idea how fucking good Terminator 2 was. Terminator 2 is the best movie of the entire franchise, in my opinion. So I'm not saying she deserved what happened to her, but maybe next time try to like. I'm forgetting. Fury didn't send her the beeper. This is like a lot of multiverse and timelines going on.
True.
So I take back some of my stuff.
I would also say Terminator 2 is the best of the franchise if you don't count the leaked tape from Terminator Salvation of Christian Bale going, good for you. La-di-da-di-da. Good for you.
And we're also not giving too much, as they say. We're not giving James Cameron his flowers right now because this is an anti-James Cameron podcast until he apologizes.
You got to put Endgame back out. What's taking so long, Marvel? Put Endgame back out, reclaim the #1 spot. Do what Clem said, do the Infinity War Endgame double feature. It's not too late. Do it. We'll still go.
That's the one way to get people back to that. And then we go to our little bar thing where we talk about the movies again.
Before Eternals. Imagine that. Like, Eternals is going to go through the whole thing. Imagine we just go, hey, they're going to talk about Endgame in this, so let's recap it. Let's fucking do 1 and 2.
Good to see Teenage Thanos hanging out there. Oh, Bob, you're on something, Feige.
Oh my God, it'd be incredible.
Or no, you're listening. Talk to Feige. You guys probably know each other.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we go back to Natasha and Clint. They are down in the KGB archives. Clint stops looking right as he found the answer. The Watcher's literally, it's like when you're watching someone play a video game that you've already beat, and you're like, yes. You know, I know what to do. It's so frustrating. Just go, no, up. And he drops. It's like that picture, that picture of the guy like mining away at the diamonds, and then he walks away right as he got there, and then the other guy's going. It's like that meme. I'll put it in if people don't know it. And the Watcher's terrified. He's like, I cannot believe this guy is not finding what he's looking for here. Clint and Natasha finally find it. It's Zola is what they're looking for. They want archives to Zola because he's run through Analog, and what's his name? Ultron is not run through Analog. He's a whole studio thing. So they finally find it. They talk to Zola. They try to enlist his help, and they fight a bunch of Ultrons using the Red Guardian shield. In this sequence, Clint sacrifices himself for Natasha in a very Endgame-esque way.
I was happy Clint got his Vormir moment. They fought for it. Natasha got hers, fucking idolized. Clint got his. That was great to see. I felt when Big Baby, what's Uatu is his name. That's Watcher's name.
I think so, yeah.
When he's like, this is our last hope, and it's Black Widow and Hawkeye did the porno, like, ha, what an idiot, what a fucking idiot. Like how does like the world always get completely wiped out of heroes, and those two assholes are the only two left? Like, is it just because the bad guys don't even have them on their radar? And like, it's kind of like when Barstool gets canceled, and they're like, Dave Portnoy, Dan Katz, Kevin Clancy, and then they just leave like me and you, like the minnows around. They just go after the sharks, right? Like maybe that's why they don't go after fucking Black Widow and Hawkeye.
Black Widow is also pretty badass in this episode too. They should have gave her like an outfit like that in the movies. Like all of the padding was almost more realistic too, because I liked Black Widow, but when I watch back some of the YouTube videos where people have pointed out like her falling like 17 stories and hitting every rock on the way down, and then like landing superhero wise and still having her makeup perfectly done and just running, I'm like, oh yeah, at the end of the day, they do point out in that movie she's like the human Avenger kind of.
She does, and she does the little pose, right?
Why don't you pad her up like this episode? She looked badass. She looked like a warrior at the end of the apocalypse, which she was here. And at the same time, Ultron finally finds the Watcher, and they start fighting. The Big Baby is throwing hands like you wouldn't believe. He's throwing headbutts like we described. He has like a suit of armor, and their fight is very cool animation-wise too, because it's going through multiverses, going through some places we know, some places we don't know. They went through Times Square at one point, some real places, some MCU places. And Natasha and Clint talk to Zola. They finally get him in the Ultron suit, which glows up green. I thought that was cool. I think they retreat. I forget where they left Clint and Natasha's story, but at this point, the story basically shifts to Ultron and the Watcher fighting through multiverses. The Watcher eventually retreats. He's like, I can't fight this guy on my own. And he meets with Strange Supreme at the end of the multiverse. Strange Supreme is like, I want to hear you say it. I want to hear you say you're going to interfere, motherfucker. And he's like, all right, I was wrong. Let's do this. We know in the next episode, they're probably going to have to build the multiverse Avengers with characters we've seen in What If, which I kind of thought maybe they would do. But now that we're actually going to get it, I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be these four, but there might be more. Captain Carter, T'Challa, Star-Lord, Strange Supreme, and then Party Thor. Who else could they put in here?
Shit. Yeah, I didn't even think of. First of all, I didn't even think of Avengers as like a potential thing. So Star-Lord, T'Challa.
Because like we got a zombie episode. I don't know if you're gonna get a hero from that necessarily. We got the episode where it ended with Pepper and Shuri just revealing the truth to the world. I don't know if they'll be involved in that.
Shuri's going to be involved in that, I think. I kind of felt like we hadn't heard the last of her, oddly enough. I thought she was going to become like the next Iron Man. So I think that would be one. By the way, I'd love to just see them go into every universe and like, where's Tony Stark? Oh, he died. Where's Tony Stark? Oh, he died. And they're like, oh, he died in every fucking multiverse. Of course he did.
Maybe Nick Fury from the Murder Mystery episode.
Yes, I could see that.
That episode ended with him discovering Captain America. So maybe a Captain America.
Do you think? I feel like it's Chekhov's squid monster too. We saw him a couple
The
times.
squid
right?
monster. There's the zombie Thanos still from the end of that episode. Remember they flashed to him. Think he could get involved?
Nice guy Thanos coming maybe as well. Could we get a couple like that?
Ego from the end of the T'Challa episode.
Yep. Wow,
he's still floating around.
It's a possibility.
Now it's like, okay, now that we know we're gonna go through the episodes themselves, what can you open that door up to? And people have already teased there's probably going to be a post-credit scene for the final episode. What could that be? And is there a chance that it's a live-action post-credit scene? How mind-blowing would that be?
I've looked for a post-credit scene every episode too, just because I never want to be late. I'm scrolling through the credits of a cartoon. That's how you know you're a junkie. That's when you do like a quick look at yourself, like, yep, this is where I am right now in my life. I like that. And did you get I got big time Galactus vibes from Ultron, like even with like the way he was
with the little thing too. Yeah. Oh yeah, when he got big and tried to like bite down on that universe, that was wild. That almost reminded me of the Mysterio Spider-Man fight, where it gets so trippy that you're like, oh my god, what am I even watching here?
And I mean, we'll just say this off the jump. We're gonna say it. This is before the finale airs. We need Strange. We need the Sorcerer Supreme. We need him. That motherfucker is number one on the sus list. Oh, that guy is consumed with fucking evil and sadness and monsters and shit.
Imagine it ends with him like jumping into live action and like dusting himself off, and we could tell from the end of What If that he's the one from the Spider-Man trailer.
Oh,
how much intrigue would that add to Spider-Man?
The people watching on YouTube just saw my head explode right there. Holy shit.
And like, there's not much more you could do to make people more excited for that movie. I think we're all like level 10 already, but that would break the scale. That would go to level 11.
And then it makes your What If or any of the cartoon series, and obviously the TV series are in that, a must watch, because this has legitimate impact. This is all coming together. This is all fucking coming together. And this is how we do it, Bob. We fucking ruin it for ourselves. And anything that doesn't get fixed by the end of next episode, we then have the secret episode coming. So there's plenty of time for everything to get put together.
Mark my words, September 30th, 2021, Captain Carter and maybe someone else from this show will be in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Probably Strange Supreme as well. I think those are the two most likely to make the jump into the Multiverse of Madness, which is getting heavy X-Men rumors now. Heavy X-Men rumors. So I don't want to excite you too much, but let's get into some what if scenarios that listeners have sent in. The first of which comes from a friend, Coach Doug's. He sent in a couple this week. So I sent out, I said, let's get some pop culture what ifs this week. Just in general, the world, what happens if this happens, whatever. He said the first one, what if Dwayne Johnson made it in the NFL? I thought that was a very interesting one. Does he become like a Deion Sanders primetime like personality and then still go on to movies afterwards? Does he, because he's from a wrestling family, maybe do wrestling later in life, just as like a Pat McAfee kind of, this is my dream, I want to do a couple matches and get it over with? I don't know.
I want to believe that. I want to believe he's basically Michael Strahan with, even more charisma and even more success across, touches all the different genres of pop culture. But I'll tell you, I think I saw into it. I think I was dabbling with a little too much of the 3-chi multiverse, and I think I actually went there. The Rock hurts his knee, which then means he can't wrestle. And you know what I'm looking at right now? Basically, and a world without The Rock is basically the world of Doctor Strange at the end of the Strange Supreme, right? Everyone's just oil dripping from the sky. Sadness everywhere. Someone posted, I think it was like the 20-year anniversary of the People's Elbow where he did the slide.
Yeah. I saw that.
I forgot about that. I was like, what did they mean the slide? I watched it go, that is one of the greatest things. I forgot all about it. I said, thank God that man exists in my life. And
if he doesn't go through the Rocky Maivia era, who knows if he even develops this personality, if he develops the real life, like going through paying the dues and then becoming like such a likable guy. I don't even know.
Yeah, because like if say, you could just rest on your nest egg of however millions of dollars you have, he's not getting into wrestling. He's not going to build his way up from the top to the bottom. Even if it's a dream of his, he's going to make it in the NFL. Even if he like, gets hurt.
He would be like the Lawrence Taylor coming in to have a match with Bam Bam. That would be, he would be like the special football attraction. People would be like, boo.
Yeah. This guy could never be a wrestler. Why is he even there right now? Vince McMahon's losing it right now.
Yeah. He sent in another one, and I don't have any answer to this one. No answer. But I just want to throw it out into the universe, the multiverse, if you will. He said, what if Apple never fired Steve Jobs? That's a big real life one where it's like, I don't know. Probably don't have this. Probably don't have the thing I'm talking to you on. Or it's probably different in some way. Yeah, by the way, the listeners, I don't know if the listeners have ever seen this. It's adorable. This is Luke's drawing of Yoda here.
So
Come on.
Man.
Come on. Adorable.
Now, this is old man Yoda, not baby Yoda.
I think that was old man Yoda.
That was old man Yoda. Okay.
Yeah, I think because it was as he's watching Empire Strikes Back. It might be baby Yoda. I think the top of his head, though, I think those are wrinkles.
I like that. I'm gonna say if Steve Jobs, so I don't even know. I didn't see any of all the Steve Jobs movies that come to him. He got fired.
I saw both. I barely remember him.
So he got fired and then came back. Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
He got fired. Okay, I know this. Okay, I was thinking the beginning of Apple. I think this is like, when they were in the transition, and then he came back and obviously went nuts. Yeah. It's definitely it's not to what it is now. It's definitely it's like you almost need that, or it's like Apple is everything we want, like these big tech companies to be. Like that guy Woz has like more of a hand in everything.
Seth Rogen played him.
Seth Rogen played him?
Yeah, he's good.
That's a good guy to have as Woz. So it's like the world is just a better place because everything is done the right way. If Apple doesn't cut corners, neither does Google and all the other things that these tech giants, I saw something the other day where Facebook, there was a reported thing where they found like they've been trying to get into the 10 to 12-year-old, like to get their data because they call them like they're like the sweet spot of, once they can hack into their like brains, they can just monetize the shit out of them. And,
sounds like some Ultron shit.
Yeah, we are living in some Ultron. We have what's her name? Carol said like we are living like that is some real deal Skynet shit. And like Boston Dynamics is just like posting shit online every single week, and we're just like, LOL, they take us over. And it's like,
shut that lab down. This is Jurassic Park. I see it coming.
It's a good question by Dougsy, though.
Andrew Harvell wrote in one that I'm reading just for you, Clem. What if Jar Jar would have been revealed as a Sith Lord?
Okay. So, I honestly believe this. I honestly believe the prequels are a success. I honestly do. 100% in my heart. I don't know what trust me, to go from what is currently prequel Stan is not going to be happy with me if I do some hard slam. But I think
shout out prequel Stan.
Whatever you take from the prequels, and then I don't know how you get from that to a successful movie franchise, especially considering the sequel franchise wasn't even a successful franchise, granted without George Lucas.
In the words of some.
Yeah, exactly. Fair. That would have been like the Darth Vader reveal with a much shittier first movie to lead to that reveal.
I was going to say, but like the way he was getting clowned, do you think people would accept it at the time, or do you think Darth Jar Jar is a product of so many years going by and people yearning for something else? Like, do you think if he was revealed as a Sith Lord in 2 or 3, people would have been like, oh my God, that's crazy, we didn't see that coming? Or they'd be like, are you fucking kidding me? You made the joke a Sith Lord?
So I think for this to succeed, you have to say that 1 was better, right? Phantom Menace was better. Because I wasn't even really that excited going to Clones. So if we'll say in this scenario, 1 just isn't Paul Giamatti prequel Stan, a flaming pile of shit, then I do think that I honestly think like a Star Wars reveal where this like goofy, lovable guy become, the Vader twist was crazy because he was so pure evil and it was his dad. But I just think having such like a lovable dude, man, that would have
imagine he just out of nowhere though went from his Jar Jar voice to like, I don't know, Idris Elba's voice. And that was like the twist where it was like, Misa no talk like this at all. And then he talks like Idris Elba or something. That would be fucking crazy.
Or he starts doing the Darth Vader breathing, and he doesn't even have like a machine breathing for him. It's
this, by the way, this is a good comment thing. Comment if you wanted the Darth Jar Jar twist, if you think it would have worked, let us know your thoughts on the Darth Jar Jar Star Wars thing if you're a Star Wars fan. And make sure you like the video if you haven't.
Like,
Make sure you subscribe. The views are going up. The subscribers are going up. The channel is doing well. Thank you to everyone for your support. We got to keep it going, though. We got to keep it going if you want more of My Mom's Basement.
Bob, I'm going to have you start reading out the percentages of people who watch that aren't subscribers. We're going to start shaming. We're going to start shaming.
We'll start shaming people. This one was kind of, Kevin couldn't join us this week. He'll probably be back for the finale. But this one was kind of for both of you guys as Back to the Future fans. What if Eric Stoltz finished and starred in Back to the Future? Do you think it would have been the success that it is today?
It would have been. This is extreme. Because I watched, what was it? Was that the movies that made us? They had the Back to the Future, that like the new series had that, right? That was the only one I watched so far. And
Jurassic Park one, you gotta watch. It's so good.
Okay. I don't. It's like seems crazy to think, and I don't think it would be that bad, but it almost would have been like Phantom Menace. It just could have been so much better, and I think everyone would have been bummed out. I don't think it would have been that bad, but I mean, if you just see the little that they show, it's just not funny. And it's just that dude just doesn't have it. And McFly, I mean, he was made for that fucking role. So, yeah.
Have you heard about the Back to the Future novelization, by the way?
No. Is there was one beforehand or someone did it afterwards?
I think it was afterwards. And I read about it yesterday. I read like a brief blurb about it, but I think it'd be worth looking into. I'm pretty sure it strays from the movie tremendously. And it's like notorious for being one of the worst novelizations ever written, because they just like change things from the movie for no reason. So I think that's worth looking into, maybe for a blog or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Another one from Roy. He said, what if Harrison Ford turned down Han Solo? Kind of the same thing in the Star Wars realm where it's like, man, I don't know. Like who else could be Han Solo with that suaveness? I know they tested some good high profile actors. I get it. But there's only one Han Solo, in my opinion, and that's why I wasn't down with Solo to begin with. I was like, why are you making a movie where we don't get to see Harrison Ford as Han Solo? I don't want to see anyone but Harrison Ford be Han Solo. It's kind of a Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. thing for me.
Do you think it succeed? Like, do you think Star Wars still becomes a phenomenon just because the special effects are so good and you have everyone else in place, and then you have a guy who can play maybe 70% of the role? Even the second best choice is like 70% of the role.
It's true. I feel like was Kurt Russell tested for that or something?
Okay, yeah, that would be an example of someone. All right, there's one thing without a shadow of a doubt I know happens in this scenario. He doesn't have that earring. That is a Han Solo earring right there. And hey, Harrison Ford's a cool ass motherfucker with it, without it, all that kind of stuff. He's a fucking, like we said, pilot, Indiana Jones, all these other American Graffiti.
Half a pilot, as we mentioned.
Yeah, half a pilot. He can fly, he can take off, he can't land.
He gets it up, he gets it up.
That earring, though, that's some Han Solo swagger in there.
By the way, Kurt Russell auditioned for both Han Solo and Luke Skywalker.
Damn.
How about that? Didn't get either part. There's a ton of those interesting audition stories. Like Tom Hiddleston, Loki auditioned to be Thor initially, and they were like, I think you should be the brother. And what a decision that was, based on 10 years later to show that Loki is like, I'm more interested in that character now than ever.
There was a big thing with Zoolander too right now, right? I think that there was like an oral history that came out, and the original cast was Jake Gyllenhaal.
Over Ben Stiller?
No, it was Hans.
Over Owen Wilson.
Yep. And then I don't know if Will Ferrell's, if Mugatu was someone else, but I couldn't imagine.
I don't know. I love Gyllenhaal, but I feel like Owen Wilson was like the perfect, him and Ben Stiller, the perfect dynamic.
Oh no, I don't think that's one of those movies. I don't think you could really change anything. I don't think it really works. So, by the way, Zoolander, I don't like. I hate to say the word underrated, but that movie is just, it holds up to this day.
I think it is underrated at this point. I don't see people bring it up nearly as much as they should. My brother's first car was called Blue Steel. That's what he called it. This one from Jay Hicks is a very quick one. I could answer this one in a flash. He said, what if Oasis asked you to be their bassist and go on tour with them? I'd be on tour with Oasis right now, brother. That's exactly what the answer would be.
Well, Bob, I actually have a Barstool what if that I've been meaning to ask. I had it written down. It kind of fits in perfectly with the last two, the what if casting and the what if band. What if Smitty had remained the drummer of Pup Punk?
Ooh. What happened? We wouldn't have had the show at Irving Plaza because the whole reason I think Frankie joined was because Dave wanted to book that show, and Frankie was hurt, or Smitty was hurt from Rough and Rowdy. So we were like, we need a drummer like now. So we wouldn't have had the show at Irving Plaza, which was like one of the greatest nights of my life. So no offense to Smitty, but whew, taking away that for me would be tough.
Taking it for the team, Smitty.
I don't know if we was he in the band when we did My Real Girlfriend? Because that one had programmed drums. No, because Frankie was in the music video. So no, we would have had that still.
You don't have,
or no, we wouldn't have had that. I guess
you don't have Dave's right hand man. I don't know what kind of pumping up.
True,
pump gets without Dave's
that
guy.
Low key was like a big thing for us. Like not like we weren't like Frankie, you're in the band because we want Dave's approval. But once Frankie was in the band, Dave paid a lot more attention to pop punk. So that was always like very nice as well. So yeah, Dave would pay less attention to it. He probably wouldn't have done Rise Page Fuse Rise with Smitty on stage, you know.
Hashtag thank you, Smitty. I mean,
yeah.
By the way, and just so this here too, Andy Dick was going to be Magatu. I despise Andy Dick. Much worse
really?
Choice.
Yeah, I'm not a big Andy Dick fan either. He was on like Celebrity Rehab one season, I think, that I watched.
Yep.
With Dr. Drew.
That sounds like Andy Dick.
Yeah. Markel wrote in, and this one is very interesting. He said, what if Blade, the original X-Men movie, bombed at the box office? Now, those were huge for the creation of the MCU. Kevin Feige was involved with X-Men. He credits Blade for being the thing that started it all. He actually says that about Blade, which is crazy. I think about that as like Tim Burton's Batman, but I guess you got into the realm of the Batman and Robins, of the Batman Forevers, which people didn't love. There's even the Fantastic Four movies, which were post Blade and X-Men, but they feel dated in that way. They feel campy and stuff. So I think we're in a world where DC is probably still making their movies. I think they're on the same path. A lot of Batman movies, maybe a Superman movie here and there. We don't have the Justice League. We don't have their interconnected universe. But I think we probably get a lot of those Fantastic Four style movies from Marvel. I think Marvel produces like Green Lantern style movies where it's like they just get a star. They try to put him in a random act. They put him in a suit, or, you know, I don't know, a bunch of Spider-Man reboots.
A full list of half measures. That's what we're getting right here. Nothing good. Nothing. It's all half.
Uncle Ben's dying 100 times.
He's died so many times. And you know what? In this scenario, Wesley Snipes plays Uncle Ben in one of the scenarios. I don't know which one,
and like he also refuses to open his eyes for the or close his eyes for the scene where he dies. So they'll have to CGI it like Blade 3.
Yes.
There's that famous GIF, which is very bizarre.
Can you imagine if the big baby had fucking eyeballs, just little blacks in the middle? It would just change his entire look.
It would. Imagine he had a pacifier too. That'd be hysterical. Someone's got to Photoshop that for us, please. The Watcher with a pacifier in his mouth as the big baby.
Oh, the big baby.
And maybe with a rattle. If you could put a rattle in his hand too, make him like the New Year's baby. All right. You want to get into your what if with Jerry? You can give it a little intro or reintroduction. You mentioned it at the start, but what is this what if you hosted with Jerry Thornton, the Barstool Sports Patriots blogger?
So our what if is, what if Tom Brady had re-signed with the Patriots to play until he was 45? It's apparently, reportedly the one thing he wanted to do. Patriots got cold feet about it because they're like, who the hell is going to play until they're 45 in the NFL? And that's before we knew for sure Tom Brady is actually a cyborg. So we go
into he might be one of these Ultron might have put his AI into a Tom Brady body.
Definitely could be the case. So obviously Patriots fans, the Brady era ended on a pick six by Logan Ryan. The last pass ever caught from Tom Brady in a Patriots uniform was by a Tennessee Titan, who then took it to the house. And then obviously we had the divorce last year. Brady goes on, wins a Super Bowl. And it was kind of really fucked up that I even had Jerry do this. I was thinking about, I was like, this is really like, he's basically watching his ex getting hotter and, happier without him, as they're kind of in this like weird rookie quarterback.
Yeah. You know what they say about bullies? It's when they're hurting at home. When you see Tony Stark die over and over again, you're like, I want to make someone else feel some misery for a change.
That's true. That's true. That's true. So, it turns out I'm the fucking bad guy at all this. So Jerry, as only Jerry could do. I mean, I said this and I truly do mean it. Like, we have great bloggers here at Barstool. Like, there's no guy that is more like entrenched with their team than Jerry and Carabas are like the same in that regard. So there was no one else in the world.
He's written books about the Patriots, literally like published books that you could go buy in the bookstore today. So this is the best guy for this question. And he's also a nerd. So you'll get some Marvel references in there as well. You'll get some nerdy stuff in there as well. Jerry, thank you for doing the show. This is now going to look like I'm going to like morph into just an older person because Jerry kind of just looks like an older me. We're back making new memories in a new world, and I found that the best way to hold on to these memories is to turn them into art that lasts forever from paintyourlife.com. You can get a professional hand-painted portrait created from any photo, or you can combine photos. You can literally mix and match, like, hey, I like this picture of this person, but this picture of this person. Can we put them together, make it look like they got their arm around each other? You can do that. You can work with the artists they have. You select your own artists, so you know the style that you want and everything. These are real artists. They're not putting your stuff through a filter, through an edit, through a render, none of that kind of stuff. It's a real hand-painted portrait. It's high quality stuff. It's awesome. I saw Large's portrait. It looks amazing. I think they got it hanging up at Arturo's in New Jersey. It's unbelievable. And it's fast. You can receive the portrait in as little as 2 weeks. You can work with your artist, so maybe it'll take a little longer if you're like, nah, change that, maybe make that a little different. But that's why paintyourlife.com is the best. You can actually work with your artist on the portrait that you want. At paintyourlife.com, there's no risk. If you don't love the final painting, your money is refunded, guaranteed. And right now, there's a limited time offer. You can get 20% off your painting. That's right, 20% off and free shipping. And to get this special offer, text the word basement, all caps, basement to 64,000. That's basement to 64,000. Paint your life. Celebrate the moments that matter. Terms apply. Available at paintyourlife.com/terms.
All right, and we have a special guest down in the basement. As promised, we have a very special What If. It's a wild week here at Barstool. Obviously, this is this blog in its soul and its DNA. It is a Boston blog, and it is, I mean, it's like the biggest regular season game and, like, I guess game you could say, in terms of NFL, any sport at all. So we have our weekly What Ifs, and this What If was a very special one that I had thought of. And then Jerry had gotten a text about this from someone saying, I think we're going to need a What If, a Disney Plus style What If, about what if Brady had stayed with the Patriots. So the What If for this week, that's kind of the one that's on everyone's mind, is what if the Patriots had offered that contract to Tom Brady, years ago when everything was still good, and said, Tom, we want you here till you're 45 like you want. And it's like, we're an arranged marriage. We're going all the way to the end here, and we're going to get to that 4 or 5 together and everything that comes along the way. And there's nobody at Barstool, nobody in the world, I mean, let's be honest, that I'd want to hear this What If than Mr. Jerry Thornton himself, Mr. Old Balls to the OGs, Patriots writer, Patriots scribe, Patriots media personality. Shit, he's radio, he's on the videos, everything he has. Do your pod, get the podcast now, subscribe, rate 5 stars, whatever they say these days, the kids. And
remember to like, share, and subscribe.
Yes,
remember to bang that like button, which I'm not going to tell anyone to do. You live your own lives. I'd appreciate it if you did, but you know what? You're adults.
Exactly. So we're going to go to the multiverse. And what if the Patriots had given Tom Brady that, contract till his age 45? Jerry not only is a great writer and knows all his Patriot stuff, has some contacts, first name basis with Mr. Belichick and Mr. Kraft occasionally, right? Do you go first name with them?
I never go first name with Mr. Kraft, but I can confirm. I got permission from the horse's mouth a while ago that I can call him RKK.
That's right.
And I said, can I confirm this, that I've got into that inner circle of people that can call you RKK? And I was told, you've jumped way over that circle. So there you go.
There it is. And not only is Jerry, knows all his Patriot stuff, absolutely great writer, big into the sci-fi stuff. I've talked about it on Popeyes, big Tolkien guy, big, we were talking before we went live here, Marvel guy. Jerry's been said when the Iron Man trailer came out, he said, I've been waiting for this since I was 9 years old, reading comic books in the back of my parents' car. So he's into the game. He knows what we're talking about here. Has been watching all the stuff on Disney Plus and everything else in the MCU. So Jerry, thanks for coming for the basement. It's not an easy week for you too. This was by no means, when I did this, I felt like bad doing that. That's coming from a Giants fan, but you're having yourself a very tough week right now, emotionally, I imagine. Ups and downs, left and rights, looking at the, the old pictures of you and your beloved Thomas together.
Yeah, it's a blended drink of mixed emotions, like an entire bar room poured into one blender. And I still don't know how to process it. I've got best friends who, right after Brady signed with Tampa, showed up at a cookout with a brand new Bucks hat that still had the hologram sticker on it and said, "I don't care if the Patriots never win again." I have some people that can't say Brady's name without slipping an F-bomb into the middle of it. And I'm just a child of divorce. Like, why can't you just get along? Can't you figure this out? And, I'm only not one of those fun children of divorces that are happy because they get 2 Christmases instead. Yeah. And all this week has done, Clem, is brought up all the vitriol again, and everyone once again is dissecting, how did this happen and why didn't this happen, and how could they not have worked it out, and who's in the wrong. And every report tells a different tale. All we know is that Brady said he wanted to play till he's 45. The Patriots ownership said they wanted him to finish his career here, and he won a ring in Tampa. And right now, if you're a Belichick loyalist, as I am, you're standing there in the gym class with your shorts down around your ankles, and everyone's pointing and laughing at you.
Been there, done that, bringing back some deep-seated memories, Jerry. I forgot I even had right there, but it's a tough. And then you have Adele. Every fucking time I go on Twitter, I get the Adele video popping back up. That can't. Did you, like, how many times have you watched it? Did you watch it once, or are you just doing it 100 times and crying in a ball, or what's going on here?
I spent a lot of time curled up in the bathtub, fully clothed, with my knees crushed to my chest, listening to it, and it's not helping. You would think that her bittersweet melodies and haunting lyrics would somehow bring comfort. No, because again, that video, it's just, all the good times just being teabagged into your face by a guy who's down there living his best life. And again, I can't stop the analogies about a breakup, but I mean, like, no matter how amicable a split is, you still want the other person to kind of go to pot. You want to see them pack on their COVID-19 weight and, stop shaving. And again, to use a Marvel analogy, you want them to look like Thor in Endgame.
Yes.
With the bathrobe and like a gut out to here or whatever. And instead, he's Steve Rogers after he came out of that with the super soldier serum and came out of that little container. And he's happier than he's ever been. He looks better. He looks younger than he did when he was 25 years old. He's doing the equivalent of your ex, like just posting on Instagram, like pictures of making like a heart hand with their billionaire boyfriend on his yacht.
Yep. And so, excuse me, in this world, we obviously know what's happened. Tom Brady goes to Tampa, gets the Super Bowl, takes Gronk with him to Tampa as well, gets the Super Bowl. Stephen Shea is out there. He's posting, is selling his merch. That's your merch, Jerry. He's selling right there. He's out there living his best life. He's fucking rolling his Giovanni Bernards now. He's feeling himself. And so what happens in this world? So we'll go back in time. I'd say maybe like 2017, it's before the Rams Super Bowl for sure. It's a couple years before that, right? Where these things had start coming around about, hey, Tom wants to play till he's 45. We're all like, 45, that fucking crazy Brady. He thinks he's going to be able to keep doing it, right? And we're all, all takes exposed could basically retire off of the amount of shit that we were probably saying when we heard those numbers being dropped. And that's around the time where they said, hey, we want to have you come in till the age of 45. So Jerry, in this world, the deal gets done. I don't know how it gets done. It's probably just the hoodie saying, all right, taking a look at the landscape. I think the Jimmy G stuff might have fucked him up a little. There's a million other fish in the sea. He's been with one beautiful prize fish forever. At that point, everyone's having questions about Brady, maybe because the receiving core isn't what it could be as well, right? Not kind of what he has down in Tampa. So let's just say the name goes on the bottom of the paper right there, the contract. Mr. RKK approves it, and we have Tom Brady until the age of 45 in New England, no matter what. How do you think you see the last few years, or the last year and then the next few years playing out in terms of just for, let's say, Brady, Belichick, Portnoy, we'll throw him in there just because that kind of goes into the thing, RKK, and yourself in this scenario?
Yeah, if you go back to the real genesis of this, there's a school of thought that it was when they drafted Jimmy Garoppolo that Brady was like resentful, like, what is this guy doing looking over my shoulder? Okay, even if you accept that, which I don't, that was 4 Super Bowls and 3 championships ago. So if it bothered him, it didn't bother him all that much. But I think it was around the time, starting in like 2017, 18, there was tension there with his trainer, this guy, Alex Guerrero, who runs TB12 Fitness with him. And he just started getting this bigger and bigger role around the team. And he was allowed on the sidelines. He was allowed in the facility. Allegedly, he started giving like advice to players that contradicted what the medical staff was telling him. So Belichick kind of said, "All right, no more of this." Like, he's not taking the team playing to road games. And then he kind of talked his way back into it. All right, let's say Belichick never says that about Guerrero, never starts putting the clamps on him and just gives him full unfettered access. Brady's happy. They sign him to a deal. Well, the first thing that happens is Gronk doesn't retire. I mean, that's just in the immediate, because, he hung him up in 2019 because he didn't like the way, the treatment he was getting from the team. He had some surgeries and had to get resurgeries. And, so if they just said, "Look, fine, you can work on pliability, you can lose some weight, whatever, Gronk stays." And the 2019 season, is a million times different, because by the time 2019 rolls around without Gronk, the tight end position basically was like non-existent. It was just a bunch of like, protocol droids, like running around trying to catch balls. But they tried to placate Brady, but like, okay, we'll bring in Demaryius Thomas. He's a physical specimen. He's really good. Look, we drafted N'Keal Harry. Hey, we'll bring in Antonio Brown. And Thomas didn't make the roster. N'Keal Harry was hurt for half the season. By the time he came back, Brady had sized him up and found him lacking. Yep. And so it was just Julian Edelman and a bunch of nobodies. And we know what happened to Antonio Brown. He lasted 11 days. They needed him to not get crazy for 5 months. Give us 5 months of just acting like a rational adult. 11 days in, he's texting a threatening text to a woman with other people on the thread, and it included pictures of her kids. So they had to cut him. None of these things probably happen if Gronk stays and Brady is happy, because Brady wouldn't have tuned out N'Keal Harry. And, maybe Antonio Brown senses that, I can't act up because Brady has my back. I think there was a sense that Brady's tuned out. Why do I need to behave myself here? So, yeah, it begins with Gronk, and now you've got a viable offense going into 2019.
So I believe you call Alex Guerrero the Yoko Ono of the Patriots, right? That's the guy who kind of broke it all up.
Absolutely. Like, if I ever see him, I'm going to do that thing that, Woody yelled at Buzz when they were stranded at the Dino Gas. Like, everything was happy in my life until you came along with your cardboard spaceship and your lasers and took away everything I cared about.
So yeah, that's true. And that's the thing. You see Gronk right now, looks like he found, the fountain youth down there in Florida, Pounce de Leon. It's like, nope, that's just Alex Guerrero making it work. So we have Gronk healthy, happy, Brady's happy, which then makes happy Antonio Brown, who, as we saw, before he got the COVID, looked pretty good at the, beginning of this season and had his moments last season. Crazy's crazy, and crazy's going to be crazy no matter what. But if, as the Patriots have showed you, those crazy guys become very productive and a little more sane when they're in that, the Patriot way, the New England system, whatever you want to call it.
And in addition, you mentioned Brady being happy. We spent the better part of his last couple of years here just going over his body language. Like, just, I don't know, he seems a little cranky, he's not really smiling. He wasn't showing up to optional workouts. A happy Brady maybe comes to those and doesn't walk around with a puss on his face. And, that translates into the rest of the team, because things did seem tense. I was down there for OTAs and he wasn't there, and the media crowd around Belichick, and first question was about Brady not being there. And he just, predictably said, I'm not going to talk about people who aren't here. We'll talk about the people on the field. And everyone just sort of scattered. And just between me and you, I'm standing there, just said, Bill, there's another controversy that's gone on this offseason. He looked at me like, rolling his eyes like, oh, God, where's he going with this? And I said, a lot of people are saying that John Bon Jovi should not have been put in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. What are your thoughts? And he went, Jesus Christ. Yeah, it was about time. Like, okay. And I got so much crap from the other writers, like going, oh, what are you throwing them softballs here? I said, shut up. I'm the one asking the tough questions. You guys don't have the balls to bring it up. Having said that, like, Brady shows up to that OTAs, that's a better team. That is a more prepared team. Maybe N'Keal Harry comes along better, doesn't get hurt, and becomes a semblance of the guy he was supposed to be when he was drafted before DK Metcalf. 32 picks before DK Metcalf. Yeah, I think a happy Brady who's not sitting there going, you know what, I'm going to build my business and I'm going to do my Facebook documentaries or whatever. Maybe gets back more towards the 2014 Brady that we know and love.
Yep. And I think because that, and you know, that season, I think everyone's like Brady's last hurrah and all that. It ends against the Titans in Foxborough, right? And yep. I'm sure everyone's saying, you know, ding dong, the witch is dead. It's, you know, Lord Vader is burning as his body goes and all that kind of stuff. They still had home field advantage for a round, despite, you know, it was the wild card round, right? It was the wild card round.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was at the final game of the regular season, and they had a nice lead at the end and a couple of minutes to go. And Ryan Fitzpatrick does the Fitz magic thing, yep. And then puts them in the end zone with like seconds left. And it happened in front of me and my whole family. So, you know, again, Brady's last play, that's his last regular season game. His last play was a pick six.
Yes, Logan Ryan, right?
Rutgers own Logan Ryan, exactly. And I know at that point, yeah, like you said, the Darth Vader on the funeral pyre, the whole rest of the world was running around in the trees, you know, singing the Nyub Nyub song. Okay, the nerd level in this thing is astronomical.
We're in the basement, baby. That's what we can do. We're allowed to say whatever we want. Be ourselves. Let your hair down, Jerry.
I wouldn't have it any other way, man. I appreciate this. And you know what? I actually, maybe this is going too far afield. Like, okay, whatever alternate timeline we're talking about here. The most recent book that I wrote, Six Rings, the first paragraph, it's March 2020. And I said, this is exactly how I thought the world would look if Tom Brady ever left. You know, everything in shutdown, the schools are closed, the economy in collapse, like societal disorder all over the place. So who knows? Maybe if he's happy, Guerrero's not planning to set up shop down in Tampa and closing up his business. Maybe he figures out that there's a way to help stop the spread of viruses. I don't know. Too much to believe. Maybe dehydrated algae and spirulina and alkalines or whatever the Christ they eat. Maybe that somehow stops the spread of a pandemic.
So I think we can agree on this. In this crazy little world we live in, this multiverse, 45, you know, he has the contract till 45 in New England. We say at the very least, a healthy Gronk, a happy Brady, not so crazy Antonio Brown, lead the Patriots to at least the 2 seed and the home field advantage with that bye. And then once Belichick gets that extra week off to prepare and everyone's fresh for the divisional round, which is when the season starts for you guys up there in New England, right? We're all grinding through 16, 17 weeks. Actually, I'm a Giants fan. We make it to about 4 now. We sometimes get to October if the rest of the division's really bad. But you guys, at the very least, you get a chance for that second round. Then you never know what happens. You face, I guess, in this scenario, you probably face the Chiefs. Chiefs end up winning the Super Bowl that year. You're never going to, like, I think to this day, if somehow Brady ended up back on the Patriots and he showed up in Arrowhead, I don't think Patty Mahomes and Andy Reid would be happy to see those two guys coming through the door. They're just the guys with the black hats, right? So at the very least, we have that. And at most, the novel coronavirus does not spread to the U.S. and the rest of the world. And it may be kind of just pinch, maybe Guerrero flies over to Wuhan and is able to nip it in the bud before it really gets crazy. And all those videos that we didn't really even know or believe what the fuck was going on. It just seems so wacky. Maybe we nip it in the bud and we don't live in this world that we're still kind of living in now, if we're being honest. What do you think happens with, like, I'm trying to figure out, do you think we get Jameis back on the Bucks? I mean, 30-30 was an electric season. I think we were all rooting for that 30-30 last game of the season, pick 6. Jameis gets the 30-30 club. Yeah. Bruce Arians, I don't know if old man Bruce could even do another year with Jameis. I think he might have lost it if Jameis comes back. There's a lot of different ways that this goes. You're talking about butterfly effect. I mean, we're hitting the entire NFL. You guys really fucked it up, and think about all the other quarterbacks who were being kind of bandied about by their teams, and whoever the motherfucker that Brady said who they chose him over Brady and that kind of stuff. There's a lot. This thing goes a lot of different ways, as the watcher in New England tells me.
What if we keep it simple and say that Tampa looks around the landscape and says, "Hey, here's a guy who's out of work and kind of can do some things, and he won an MVP and everything. Let's get Cam Newton in here. There's a guy, and Newton, who threw all of 8 touchdowns in New England in 15 games. Like, maybe he goes down to Tampa with Mike Evans and Cameron Brate and that core that he has to throw to, and says, all right, throws maybe 11, or even 12. Dare we live the dream?
A man
scored. Godwin. Okay, let's give him 13 and go crazy. But yeah, I think that's the lowest hanging fruit there. And you know what? The other thing is, whoever Arians had, he's going to run Arians' system. He's so proud of and whatever. And I'm convinced that around this time last year, Brady went over to him with a pair of wire cutters and just clipped that cord on his headset, his microphone, and said, I'm doing what I'm going to do from now on. You stand there. Every time I see Bruce Arians now, as I watch Brady run the Patriots offense, and Belichick confirmed that a couple hours before you and I started talking here, he confirmed that that's our offense. You can recognize it. We know all these plays. I'm convinced if you went over to like Arians and just kind of went like this with his headphones, you're going to hear like yacht rock. It's going to be Kenny Loggins or Hall & Oates or something. There's no way he's involved in the playmaking, the play calling. It's just Brady doing his own thing, to the point where one of the early games this year, right? We saw them send in a play and him just go, nope, just told Leftwich, I got this. And then of course throws like a 40-yard bomb to Antonio Brown or whatever.
So I kind of like that. We're going to say, I like the Cam Newton angle. We're going to say Cam, he looks at the landscape after getting cut by the Panthers, says, I'm going to stay in the division 2 times a year. I could shove it up the Panthers' ass. He goes to Tampa because they have the opening, because Jameis, they've already, gone on that ride enough times. Now, Cam, you get it, like you said, Mike Evans, that guy is made for Cam. Kelvin Benjamin was brought in before he ate himself out of Carolina, and he became a force for the 1 year with Cam because he was the big body where Cam always is selling those passes high. That's high to N'Keal Harry. That's not high to Mike Evans. There's no such thing as high to Mike Evans unless he's hanging out with Johnny Manziel, right? There's his college teammate. So I kind of like that.
That's the point. And I might be unfair to Cam Newton because he, by his own admission, and that video he did with his dad there, that 40-minute, kind of sitting on the 50-yard line video. Yeah. And he said, like, I'd never been asked to do the things that New England was asking me to do. I'd never had to identify the mic. I never had to worry about blocking coverage and any of that kind of stuff. So, okay, maybe he goes down to Tampa and he's a better system fit there. I mean, I like the guy. He's certainly smart enough to work in a lot of systems. The Patriots thing in him would just a terrible fit, but maybe that Arians thing of, wait until the play begins and then, look for who's open or however that works. Forget the pre-snap reads, just do what I tell you to do. Yep. Maybe he thrives. I just can't imagine that he was going to all of a sudden be 2015 Cam by any stretch.
That guy was a motherfucker too. He, the gif, the infamous gif of him, nodding with the towel on his head, that was against the Giants when he shoved it a bar ass one last time. I think in this scenario, we can all agree Stephen Shea is the old Stephen Shea. He's still breaking down Bucks losses, 9-7, 8-8 seasons. Just not fun. Nothing great there. I got to ask, Jared, what happens to the Jets in this scenario? I mean, I don't think anything good comes out of this for the Jets. I'm just trying to figure out how more bad comes out of it. I mean, I think Zach Wilson, you guys kind of, the ghost started popping back up and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Do you just see more pain? Is that what's in your crystal ball here?
Look, the Patriots beat them twice easily with Cam Newton. They were like the saving grace of last year. Minus them, you split with them and you're looking at a 6-10 season, which is would be second worst of the Belichick era. Yeah, I just think the Jets would have drafted a quarterback of incredible promise and fucked him up. Like, it probably would be the same guys, but they would have fucked up whoever it was. Did you see Rich Cimini from ESPN tweeted this after the Pats beat the Jets in week 2? He said, since 2000, I think it was 2002. He said there have been 4 quarterbacks as rookies that threw for no touchdowns and 4 picks in a game. The last 3 of them were Jets.
God.
You know, and you do the math on that. You go, all right, so Sanchez, that was a decade ago, different decade under Rex Ryan. Then the other one was obviously Sam Darnold under Adam Gase. And now you've got Zach Wilson doing it on a salad. So it's 3 different decades, 3 different coaches, 3 different quarterbacks, presumably 3 different systems. What's the one thing they all have in common? The goddamn Jets.
The goddamn Jets. Yep. KFC's franchise that lives no matter what. I mean, so for people who listen to the basement down here, my mom's basement, they probably watch WandaVision. We're going to say the Jets are a nexus being. No matter what multiverse they're in, it's the same Jets, and it's just pain. It's just, draft quarterback, question mark, pain. That's kind of where we end up with the Jets, no matter what happens in New England or down south. The only way, there was one day where everything could have been all right, but there was a little scribbling on a napkin, resigns as HC, BB resigns as HC of NYGA, and that's where we go from there. And then I guess the last thing, just from a selfish version, like Barstool here, I guess we just make more money off Pat's merch last year and, in 2019 and then maybe 2020, 2021. I think that's just like a fixed income, instead of it being a variable. It's like, nope, every single year we're going to basically we'll say 2 or 3 years, we're getting Patriots Super Bowl money coming in through the merch and the shirts and the clicks and the page views. Dave's doing something crazy at the game for his team, and we're all happy in the end.
Yes. And maybe this time they go to the AFC Championship game again, which would have made 9 straight years. Get past Kansas City, which isn't the craziest thing. They'd done it the year before, and they were heavy underdogs that year. Say they break through and they beat San Francisco, who didn't play their best ball there in 2019. And then maybe I get the biggest check mark in my bucket list. Ever since I saw Carabas on a duck boat with the Red Sox, I've said to members of the Patriots, like, we get a guy on there and for the Sox, and I can't get on yours. And they said, well, we'll see. Okay. So maybe I get that on the duck boat. And then, then I would confirm, and this is a theory I've had, this is kind of what my own, what if. I'm convinced that around 2001, maybe when Drew Bledsoe got hurt, when Mo Lewis took him out, I'm convinced that I may have hit my head, and everything that's happened for 20 years since is all just a dream that I'm having. And if that's the case, I'm eating that blue pill. Like, keep me right here. I keep being afraid I'm going to wake up and I'm on the floor of my basement and they're going, all right, you feeling okay? Cause you got to go back to the courthouse tomorrow. Yeah. And I've never heard of Barstool. What are you talking about, Barstool? There's no such thing.
Dave Portnoy? No, never heard of him. Never seen him. He's some low-level sales guy somewhere in Newton, Mass right now. Is
that guy who got arrested at the horse racing track the other day for throwing a fit? Like, no, I don't. You're not a writer. You work for the state, and you're going to be doing that until the day you die. So, I'll stay in this reality, even if it's the reality where I only had Brady for 20 years and 9 trips to the Super Bowl and 6 championships.
God damn it. When you lay those numbers out, you said 9 in a row. It's just like, oh my God. It's one of those things that I think when there's a little bit more like distance from it all, it's the Tony Gwynn stats times a million, especially because the way football is, and it's the craziest, it's the greatest dynasty. It's the greatest quarterback, coach, and dynasty I think we're ever going to see. And trust me, I make sure to remind everyone of that. Anytime I have to write about Eli Manning, I go, that guy somehow beat those motherfuckers twice. And one time when they could have been the immortal of immortal with the 19-0. And I don't want to bring that up on the pod. You have enough dealing going on this week, but I had to do it for my own sanity because I'm going through some shit right now myself with my team. But I think all things considered, Sounds like a pretty good future. You never know what happens once you pull that string, though. You never know what kind of stuff can unwind here. Hopefully Mac Jones becomes the answer for you guys down the road and whatnot. Hopefully that we'll see about the duck boat. That sounds like something I tell my kids when they say they want to go to Disneyland tomorrow, and I'm just like, we'll see, honey, we'll see. I hope, I truly, in my heart of hearts, hope we can get you there. No matter what, the Jets are going to be in pay, no matter what had happened with that contract negotiations. And Jerry, good luck on Sunday night. Thanks for coming down to the basement. Like I said, we'll have you back for some actual nerdy talk. And how we feeling? How we feeling right now going into the game? Just terrified?
Scared, happy? Absolutely. Petrified, not just about what I think might happen, because I think if possible, Brady will try to put up like 8 touchdowns on him. First of all, and tell me Roger Goodell, Ginger Satan, doesn't have a golden horseshoe all the way up his ass, because this is going to happen on Sunday night. Okay, that's not by, accident. That's by design. But Brady is 67 yards away from setting the all-time record. He'll do that in the first quarter, if not the first drive. But I'm worried about, how much he's going to try to stomp them, but also just my own well-being, like whether I'm going to just totally blow a gasket, like mentally and emotionally, if I'm going to go into a fugue state, if you're just going to find me like on a walkabout somewhere, like under an assumed name, because I couldn't be able to handle this. I don't, it's all the emotions coming at me all at once. But what I'm going to hope for more than anything is that either he signs and we'll live in that other reality, or back in this one, that the Tom Brady variant turns out to be Mac Jones.
Yes.
That either way they draft him somehow, move up to get him, or he just falls in the draft to them, and that he becomes either he replaces the 42-year-old Tom Brady who left, or he replaces the 45-year-old that wins 7 rings and then leaves.
Yep, he is the Kang. No matter what, it always comes back to Kang, the one who remains. I mean, that's what Brady seems like. He's just the one who remains here. That seems to be the one thing we're learning across all that. So we'll say I'll give the Pats a Super Bowl, either 19 or 20, just because I'm so used to it. I'm conditioned. So I don't know if that means you guys take down the Chiefs and then take down the Niners in the Super Bowl, or if it goes to the next year, we'll say the Packers make the Super Bowl without Tom Brady taking them and the Saints down. I think the Packers end up taking the NFC that year, even though I think we can all agree Aaron Rodgers a little overrated when it's all said and done, right? So yeah. We'll give you. We'll give you one. I can't give you 2 off the, that's a lot to be asking for a team that has everything in the world as is. And hopefully the variant, like you said, the Mac Jones variant is the thing that keeps you guys all sleeping at night. So Jerry, thanks again for joining the pod. And more importantly, if you want all the Patriots fans or any football fans in general, do your pod, iTunes, Spotify, everywhere podcasts are sold for free, basically.
Yes, exactly. And we release the episodes every Wednesday, middle of the day. They're on the Barstool Pod page and whatever. And it's a blast to do. I just needed to get through the season talking to people. I have a different guest every week. And
who did this week?
Yes. I had him, Pete Shepard, WEEI, Boston radio legend, who before Tom Brady moved to Tampa. And Pete's great. I posted a video of one of the all-time great rants he did talking to Portnoy back in like 2008, back in the early days of Barstool. And it's one of our all-time favorite videos. It's Pete just dumping all over his former employers, but he's got that insight into the Tampa and what's happened to them since Brady got there, but also really helped talk me and other Pats fans down off the ledge. After being 1-2, there's a lot to be said for it. Yeah, I hope you get a guy like that in the Giants world, because I know there's a lot of just bad going on there.
A lot of motherfuckers, man. You said it. So yeah, we have a whole other what if to go on with the Giants. I think it all goes back. Our moment is when they benched Eli for Geno, and then they tried to make it up for Eli, and they started piling on their mistakes. You can go back to Jerry Reese not getting fired, Coughlin getting fired instead. Oh boy, I don't want to go to that. That is, as the watcher said, that is another story for another time, another universe, and a much more sadder universe we live in right now. But thanks, Jerry. Jerry, what's the name of the book again for anyone who wants to get the newest book?
6 Rings. The previous one is about the early days of the Patriots, called From Darkness to Dynasty. If I couldn't have laughs telling these stories, I wouldn't have ever sat down at the laptop. But I'm proud of them, and the sales have been good. So appreciate that. And again, it's do your part, and you know where to find me. I'm on Barstool 24/7. But Clem, man, this is always a blast talking to you. Usually it's over just some kind of business meeting. This is 100 times even more fun. So yeah, let's go get our nerd on some other time unrelated to football, and then we'll be dropping in football references instead of dropping nerd references into football talk.
Exactly. That's when Robbie's eyes go dark, is when I just start talking. He says I get one football sports reference an episode, and I always try to save it for a really good one. And like you said, we always used to record. We would record on Sundays, and we'd go, all right, well, I guess we'll have to wait till 7:25 because you guys, it was always after the Patriots game, because you guys were always like the 4:25 game. So a lot of Patriots weaved into this podcast as is. So we'll get you down to the base. We got a lot of stuff coming up this winter. I saw Book of Boba Fett comes out the same day as Hawkeye. So the Hawkeye finale, and I think the Book of Boba Fett. So there is a lot of different nerd stuff popping. So we'll get Jerry back down. And by that point, we might kind of know if Mac Jones is that Brady variant we've been talking about. So thanks again, Jerry. And best of luck on Sunday, my friend.
All right. Thanks, pal.